present the facts, speak with the experts, and as always, listen to
You know the song until them start.
What's your story?
It's
Telling a group We look forward to receiving your instant messages on MSN or Yahoo and your text messages on 365-3346. Remember, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we speak. So stay with us as we listen to both sides of the story. Both sides of the story.
stand by.
Both sides of the story.
We always need to hear both sides of the story. Both sides of the story. Both sides of the story.
Both sides of the story.
Yes, both sides of the story.
Knowledge is power. Class is in session. Hour 106.
If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it is almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out of the world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I
Think to myself, what a wonderful world.
see
Skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed days, dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll never know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah. Believe it or not, it is still a wonderful world. Whatever our experiences, whatever our situations, the fact that we're still within this realm is enough to exclaim, what a wonderful world. We started out this afternoon with the piece Thinking by Walter D. Wintle. Walter, Walter D, the letter D, Wintle, Wintle. And the poem is entitled Thinking. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you think you win, but you think you can't, it is almost certain you won't. If you think you lose, you're lost. For out of the world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can.
What a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
It's the International Decade of Healthy Aging, the International Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, the International Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, the Decade of Action for Road Safety, and the UN International Decade of Indigenous Languages. It's the 18th day of the 4th month of 2023, the International Year of Millets, these cereals grown in warm countries and regions with poor soils, bearing a large crop of small seeds, which are chiefly used to make flour. 2023 is also the International Year of Dialogue as a guarantee of peace. The holy month of Ramadan started on the evening of Wednesday, March 22nd, and will last for 30 days, ending at sundown this Thursday, the 20th of April, 2023. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. The holy month of Ramadan is a time for fasting, prayer, and community for Muslims across the world. The month of April is still being observed as World Autism Awareness Month, Arab American Heritage Month, and here in Jamaica, Cancer Awareness Month, Farmers Month, and Financial Literacy Month. It's also Health Day in Kiribati, Independence Day in Zimbabwe. The world is still observing Autism Awareness Month, as we've said. It's Paul Revere Day in the USA. Dibol Dagen Slaget Vet Dibol, official Flag Day in Denmark, and Cancer Awareness Month observance continues. Hoy es martes, el 18 de abril 2023, y les saludamos en cualquier parte del mundo que nos están escuchando en este momento. Estamos muy agradecidos por el don de la vida y el privilegio de servirles en otra edición de su programa Both Sides of the Story, ambos lados de la historia. Nunca vamos a tomar su audiencia por sentado porque sabemos que ustedes tienen otras opciones y esta es la razón por la cual jamás olvidamos darle las gracias por elegir Both Sides of the Story, ambos lados de la historia, de lunes a viernes desde las 2 hasta las 5 de la tarde, aquí en Power 106 FM. La misión continúa para educar, capacitar, iluminar y estimular el espíritu empresarial. Bienvenidos.
The dog say goodnight, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
C'est mardi le 18 avril 2023 et nous vous saluons tous qui nous écoutez, que vous soyez dans le monde. Nous sommes reconnaissants du don de la vie ainsi que du privilège d'être à votre service par une nouvelle édition de votre programme Both Sides of the Story, le pour et le contre. Nous ne considérons pas votre fidélité comme l'un de soi parce que nous savons que vous avez l'embarras du choix. C'est pourquoi nous n'oublions jamais de vous remercier de choisir d'écouter Both Sides of the Story, le pour et le contre, du lundi au vendredi de 2h à 5h de l'après-midi sur notre antenne Power 106 FM. Nous continuons notre mission d'éduquer, d'habiliter, d'éclairer et d'encourager l'esprit d'entreprise. Bienvenue.
Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Ooh, yeah.
All we're saying is it's Tuesday, the 18th of April, 2023, and we greet you well, wherever in the world you are listening to us right now. We remain eternally grateful for the gift of life and the privilege to serve you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story. We don't ever take your listenership for granted because we know you have choices. And that's why we never ever forget to remember to say thanks for choosing to listen to Both Sides of the Story, Monday to Friday, 2 to 5, right here on Power 106 FM. The mission continues to educate, empower, enlighten, and encourage entrepreneurship. Welcome.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow.
Good afternoon to those of you listening to us on 106.1, 106.3, 106.5, 106.7, and 106.9. From Moran Point to Negril Point, from the Goat Islands to Galena Point. This is Power 106 FM, serving Jamaica and the diaspora. Hello to those tuned in via the Power 106 FM app, which you have downloaded from the App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on the nature of your device. Downloading is free, listening is free, whenever, wherever. We acknowledge those who have dialed a designated number to listen to Power 106 FM from the United States and the United Kingdom. We'll give you those coordinates in just a moment.
Yes, I think to myself.
Walk into Marjan's Pharmacy and you will feel better. The service is clearly different. Marjan's Pharmacy, call 876-703-6335. The time by Marjan's Pharmacy is 2:15.
Do you have a title for your property? If no, then get a registered certificate of title. To register your property, you will need a tax registration number, a valid government-issued ID, up-to-date property tax payments, the names,
Yes, indeed. You've been hearing the promo. Now, this is the moment as we listen into the presentation in the budget debate presentation of the Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Edmund Bartlett. Let's listen.
She, she's been an abiding partner over the years, the 11 years that I've been Minister of Tourism. Permanent Secretary Jennifer Griffith has been my permanent secretary. I want to especially thank the chairpersons of the respective public bodies within the ministry, their board members, their executive directors, and the amazing employees of all the bodies within my ministry. Madam Speaker, I want to especially thank the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, its president, Mr. Robin Russell, who is here today. And I would like also to enjoin the former president, Mr. Clifton Reeder, who is also here and who is celebrating his 49th year as a worker in the tourism industry. And I want especially to Madam Speaker, whilst we're doing that, the team that I call the Dream Team. Yes. Madam Speaker, I know the protocol
I crave your indulgence. Members, like the speaker, those of us sitting in the gallery, cannot and ought not to join in the clapping. We leave that for the members of parliament sitting on the benches.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I will ask your permission. I will ask your permission to allow for the Dream Team, Madam Speaker, that I call the Protean Tourism Recovery Task Force that has taken us from zero in 2020 to now 120% ahead of 2019 to just stand so that we can recognize them in this honorable house for the work that they have done over the period. And they are here today, Madam Speaker, the Dream Team. These are the persons, Madam Speaker, who, along with others, many others, merely the representation of the many others across Jamaica who have put their shoulders to the wheel and have put their heads where we would think go to ensure that the recovery happens and we'll be able to talk about that recovery a little later on. Finally, Madam Speaker, and indeed of most importance in all of my arrangements today, I want to make a special thank you to my constituent, East Central St. James, and the councillors who are here, and my office staff who are here. And that staff has been with me for the better part of 20 years. Madam Speaker, I again ask your permission for them just to stand, my staff from my office in Montego Bay. We have an office there that we've had for 20 years. And my councillors. And I want to thank them. Madam Speaker.
Members, please, members sitting in the gallery, it is important that we do not participate in what is taking place.
Madam Speaker, I apologize for their exuberance, but I understand. Madam Speaker, the constituency of East Central St. James has grown, developed, and we have really developed around the business of building human capital. And whilst in my closing later on in the debate, Madam Speaker, I will speak more about the constituency and our performance. I would just like to indicate how much I appreciate the team that has worked with us to build the educational trust within that constituency.
And for last year alone, Madam Speaker, we spent $13 million in providing scholarships and support to hundreds of children, young people across not just Jamaica, but the world. And I'm proud of that program. And in the case of East Central St. James, it's 25 years old now. And over the years, we've had graduates in every single discipline that you can imagine. And every university in Jamaica today, every community college, and most high schools have students from the program. Every teacher's college has students from the program. And we have students in China. We have students now doing masters in linguistics in Madrid. We have them in London. We have them in the United States of America and in Canada. And one of the joys of my life is as I go to do the duties of government in cities after cities, there are graduates from my program who come to meet me and to show their appreciation for the work that we do. And this means a lot to me. And I like to just indicate, Madam Speaker, that over the years we spent a lot of time, as I indicate, on primary, secondary, and tertiary education. This time, Madam Speaker, starting this year, we are going to not change our tack, but to go to another dimension in the education program for the constituency. And we are going to be breaking ground next month for the first ever Early Childhood Development Center for Innovation. And our Prime Minister came and he was the guest speaker at the function where we started the fundraising activities for it. And I'm proud to tell you that we have support from almost every walk of life towards the development of this innovation center, because it is going to be a game changer. Children 2 years to 5, that's the level that we start. And it will be an activation center, not the traditional classroom with chalk and blackboard. Every child will have a tablet. And we will have a space for parents to also come and to interact. The whole idea of starting the children at that age, Madam Speaker, is to recognize that the child is wired to learn. And the neurons in the brain multiply and are numerous during that period of time. And they die as we get older. And so the capacity to learn is the greatest during that period. We want to capture it. But we want to do something more. We want to go at both sides of the brain. So the program at the center will be in relation to the arts and to music, as well as to science and technology. And the whole idea is to enable these young children at the very tender age to not only develop ideas, but to be able to start converting ideas into practical and meaningful activities and action. And the whole idea, of course, is to create a new generation of innovativeness. And the emphasis is going to be on children whose parents are not of the economic means to allow them to enter any kind of institution of that kind. And I wouldn't want to tell you what happened in the first little effort at it, but I'm satisfied that the support for this center is there. It's going to cost us $1.5 million to complete it and to have it ready, and the timetable is for September 2024. US, 1.5 US. So, Madam Speaker, if ever there was an industry that has the potential to transform our nation, our communities, and the lives and livelihood of the Jamaican people for better, it is tourism. Tourism, Madam Speakers, is resilience and its ability to rally from lengthy downturns. As we saw with COVID-19, that induced standstill, as we call it, what some people call the anthropause, when the whole world literally was at a standstill and doing nothing. But it was more than that. It was also, Madam Speaker, a period of great uncertainty, when the world was trying to understand what was happening, and the whole process of trying to find a way became a highly iterative one, where it was all about trial and error. And for the first time, nobody had the full answer, and everybody was dependent on everybody else to find a way. And perhaps it brought the period, perhaps the only period in Anthropocene Earth when man really became truly interdependent and relied on each other to find their way. So allow me, Madam Speaker, to give a detail of the contribution of the tourism industry to Jamaica in the period. Madam Speaker, 2022 was a good year. Not only did tourism rebound at a record rate, but the tourism industry has been the driving force behind the post-pandemic economic recovery of the entire nation. Data from the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, makes this abundantly clear. And Madam Speaker, I'm quoting now from the PIOJ's report in relation to the performance of January to December 22, when it reported that the gross domestic product increased by 5.1% compared to 2021. And this reflected an increase in real value added for the goods producing industry by 2.1%, and the service industry, which tourism is a part of, by 6% for the period. For 2022, Madam Speaker, the estimated growth in real value added for the hotel and restaurants industry, which is what tourism is defined as, was 48.9% compared to 2021. This feat, Madam Speaker, is even more remarkable when we consider that in 2021, the industry had just begun its recovery from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. The industry sector, Madam Speaker, contributed to the growth in the overall economy of the industries such as agriculture, forestry, fisheries, which, Madam Speaker, contributed an estimated 9%. And one can be clear in indicating that much of that was, of course, induced by the recovery of tourism because of the demand that it brought for goods and services to be consumed by the visitors who come to the country.
All right, sir. So
in 2022, Madam Speaker,
so it looked
we
like
welcomed
something we have grown straight onto
3.3
Minister
million visitors. Madam Speaker, but the better news in this regard is when we look at pre-COVID performance and what the numbers are at this time. And the 2019 figures, Madam Speaker, for the arrivals was 2.6 million. And we were able to find pretty close to 3 million arrivals, 3.3 million arrivals in 2022. Madam Speaker, the estimates for full recovery that we had for 2024, we projected that we would have $3.8 billion in revenue. The actual performance, Madam Speaker, is $4.1 billion. So, Madam Speaker, we are now projecting for 23. And I'm very pleased to indicate that the first quarter, and in fact, this is the biggest and best winter season that Jamaica has ever had in the history of tourism. We brought in 1.185, nearly 1.2 million visitors. And that's 94.4% higher than last year. And we brought in the process 1.12 billion US dollars, which is 46.4% increase over last year. But, Madam Speaker, the hard cold facts are that beyond the arrivals, and the revenues that we speak about. People ask the question, so where is the revenue flowing to? And who gets the benefit of it? And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on as we show you, Madam Speaker, that never before in the history of Jamaica has tourism made such a contribution to the Jamaican economy. And we are willing to continue that process and to make even greater contributions. And I'll give you a sense of this. In 2022, January to December, the revenues to the Minister of Finance's coffers. And you recall that he made very heavy weather of that in his own presentation. That $11.75 billion was paid over to the consult fund from the GART. You know what the GART is? That is the guest accommodation room tax. And the general consumption tax. Yes, that is for everybody. But 11 of that, 6 come directly, exactly. So, Madam Speaker, you know, that performance was almost double what it was in 2021, when it was $5 billion. And more importantly, Madam Speaker, it was 25% better than 2019, which was the best year in terms of our performance, when it was $9.4 billion. So, Madam Speaker, overall, during that 2022, January to December, from the Tourism Enhancement Fund collections, from the airport charges and the direct taxes, I haven't even included head tax yet, the travel tax. Tourism contributed a total here of 51.7 billion Jamaican dollars. Investments continue to move to drive the industry's recovery, Madam Speaker. Over the last 5 years, tourism investment contributed 20% of the island's total foreign direct investment. And over the next 5 to 10 years, there are multiple upcoming investment projects, which will see an addition of 15 to 20,000 new rooms with investment of 4 to 5 billion US dollars. Madam Speaker, the last fiscal year has seen my ministry, our public bodies, and our tourism partners continuing to build on the framework we put in place post-pandemic for a revitalized tourism product that is viable, equitable, and generates opportunities for all. Indeed, Madam Speaker, never before in the history of Jamaica has tourism made such a contribution to the Jamaican economy. And we are going to do even more. Madam Speaker, as the forementioned data suggests, tourism will be the biggest driver of our economic growth and prosperity, not just for now, but indeed for years to come. Our vast economic reach is not always easily understood, Madam Speaker. It is also more than visitors, and we want to make that point, that tourism is much more than visitors arriving. It's more than airlift, it's more than multi-billion-dollar investment. That tourism really is a confluence of so many parts that have to come together, that touch so many lives, that causes prosperity to be generated on so many people from varying areas of life, different avocations, and also people of varying abilities and capabilities. One of the things that I say sometimes when I travel in the marketing world is that tourism is perhaps the only industry in the world where somebody could allow 2 little crabs to race and make a money. It's an amazing that it does not take a rocket scientist. Any average ordinary person who has an idea can convert that idea into some good, some material service, and make a living from tourism. And that's the power of that industry. So, Madam Speaker, the confluence of hotel workers, farmers, craft vendors, tour operators, red cap porters, contract carriers operators, attraction workers, and I could go on and on and on. All these are the beneficiaries of tourism. And I say it again, Never before in the history of Jamaica has tourism made such a great contribution to the economy of this country. So, Madam Speaker, tourism is enjoying the growth I mentioned.